For many years, some bad police officers believed they could do anything and no one could stop them. Every time they arrested someone, it was like putting on a show for themselves. Every person who tried complain got ignored or shut down. They liked making people scared. They thought nobody would ever stand up to them. Before we start today's story, comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you haven't already. You won't want to miss what's next. One morning, these officers saw a young black mom walking home from the hospital, holding her newborn baby tightly in her arms. To them, she looked small and weak, like she could be easily scared or hurt. They didn't know that she was a special FBI agent. She had spent many years secretly investigating men like them, men who abused their power and thought they could get away with anything. When she stayed calm and didn't do what they told her without a real reason, the officers pulled out their guns. They had no idea that this would change everything for them in ways they could never imagine. The air was cool that autumn morning. The wind carried the smell of fallen leaves. Ava Bennett, the young mom, walked carefully down Cedar Street. Her newborn son, Lucas, was wrapped safely in a soft blue blanket, snug against her chest. Ava's body ached from giving birth 3 days ago, but her heart felt full of love and joy. The hospital bracelet was still around her wrist, a reminder of the journey she and her baby had just been through. "Look at you, my beautiful boy," Ava whispered gently, adjusting the blanket so Lucas's tiny face could peek out. His eyes were closed, and he breathed softly, his little fists curled tightly. He was calm, just like the nurses had said at the hospital. Ava smiled, feeling a warm rush of happiness. The walk home was only 6 blocks, but Ava moved slowly. Her body was still sore, but she had insisted on walking. After spending 3 days in a hospital room, she needed the fresh air and sunshine. She wanted her baby to feel the gentle warmth of the morning sun too. "Almost home, little one," she murmured, leaning against a brick wall to rest. The sun's rays touched her face warmly, and she looked down at Lucas. His skin was soft and new, and he seemed so peaceful. Ava felt grateful for this little life in her arms. Suddenly, a loud car engine roared behind her. The screech of tires made her jump. She turned her head and froze. A police car had jumped the curb and driven onto the sidewalk. 2 officers ran out, hands already on their guns. "Don't move," shouted the older officer. His name tag read Ryan. His face was red and angry. "You match the description of a shoplifter." Ava held Lucas closer, trying to stay calm. "There must be a mistake," she said softly. The younger officer, Blake, cut her off. His hand twitched near his gun. "Put the baby down and put your hands where we can see them." Ava's throat went dry. "This is my baby. He's only 3 days old." Ryan barked into his radio. The back door of the police car swung open. Dogs ran out, growling and barking, their teeth shining. Ava could hear screams from nearby people, and she saw someone standing on a porch holding a phone, probably filming. But Ava's only thought was her baby. She turned her back to the dogs and curled her body around Lucas. The first dog bit her lower back, tearing through her jacket. She gritted her teeth against the sharp pain, but didn't let go of her son. "Stop. She has a baby," shouted a woman's voice. Ava looked and saw the woman holding a phone high in the air. "You're going to hurt that baby." Another bite tore into Ava's arm. She fell to her knees but didn't loosen her grip on Lucas. He cried, scared and confused. "Oh my God, are you filming this?" a young man shouted. He was shaking but holding his phone steady. "Everyone is going to see this." Blood ran down Ava's arms, soaking her clothes. The dogs continued biting, encouraged by their handlers shouting. Ava focused on her baby's face. She didn't care about herself. She only wanted Lucas to be safe. Ava's legs started to give out. She collapsed onto the sidewalk, but kept her arms wrapped tightly around Lucas. The rough concrete scraped her cheek, but she didn't care. She protected her baby with all her strength. "That's enough," Blake finally yelled, his voice trembling. "Call the dogs off." But Ryan was lost in his power trip, watching and enjoying the chaos. "She's resisting," he shouted. Ava hadn't moved except to protect her baby. Her arms shook with the effort, but she didn't let go. She could hear more voices now. People were calling 911. Phones recorded everything. "Stay with me, baby," she whispered. "Mommy's got you. Mommy's not letting go." Her body was giving out, but her arms stayed locked around Lucas. The officers dragged Ava through the doors of the police station. Her feet barely touched the floor. Blood dripped from her torn clothing, leaving a trail. She still held Lucas tightly. "Look what the dogs brought in," Ryan said, laughing. Other officers chuckled and made jokes. Ava's arms hurt, but she stayed strong, holding her baby. "Slowly," Blake said, worried. "Keep your hands where we can see them." Ava reached into her purse, careful even though every movement caused pain. She pulled out a small leather wallet. She opened it. Inside was a shiny gold badge. The letters FBI gleamed in the bright lights of the precinct. The room went completely silent. An officer's coffee cup fell and broke on the floor. Ryan's smirk disappeared. Blake stammered, That can't be real." "Special Agent Ava Bennett," she said quietly but firmly. "I work in the FBI, Public Corruption, and Civil Rights Division. Would you like to call the Bureau to check?" The officers stepped back, looking scared. They realized the seriousness of what they had done. "Wait a minute," Ryan stammered. "It's just a misunderstanding." Ava's voice was calm but strong. "Every second of your attack on me and my baby was filmed. Phones, body cameras, everything. Unless, of course, your cameras were conveniently turned off." Blake unconsciously touched his camera. It was on. He understood that they could get in big trouble. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. Sergeant Bill Carnes appeared. He looked at the blood, at Ava, and then at the officers. "What's going on here?" he asked. Though his eyes already told Ava he knew something bad had happened. "Sergeant Carnes," Ava said, "your officers let dogs attack a federal agent for no reason. They kept biting even when they saw I was holding my infant. They hurt my 3-day-old son." She lifted Lucas slightly to show the cut on his cheek. Carnes' jaw tightened. He thought about the headlines, lawsuits, and federal investigation that could destroy the police station's reputation. "We can handle this," he said, trying to sound calm. 10 minutes, Ava interrupted, her voice quiet but firm. Blood dripped from her arms onto the floor. 10 minutes is all it takes to end a career. One phone call to my boss. One email to Internal Affairs. One press conference. Her eyes moved over each officer. 10 minutes. The room was completely silent. Even the usual noises of the police station, phones ringing, radios, paper shuffling, stopped. Everyone waited. Ava took a deep breath and looked down at Lucas. He had stopped crying, but his little face was still scared. She kissed his forehead gently. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's got you. No one is going to hurt you now." The woman who had shouted earlier, Tasha Green, stepped closer. Her phone was still filming. "You're lucky you didn't break this baby," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "I hope the world sees this." People in the station were moving now, whispering to each other. Ryan and the other officers didn't know what to do. They realized that every single moment of their terrible behavior had been seen by witnesses and cameras. Ava's body ached. Her arms and legs were covered in scratches and bites. Her clothes were torn, but she didn't care about herself. She only cared that Lucas was safe. She gently wrapped him in the blanket again, holding him close to her chest. Sergeant Carnes cleared his throat. We need to handle this professionally," he said, still looking at the scene in shock. Ava looked at him. "Professional?" she asked, her voice steady. "Professional is when officers don't attack a mother and her newborn without cause. Professional is when the law is followed. Every second of your officer's actions is evidence." Her eyes swept the room, looking at each officer. Ryan's face was pale. Blake looked like he wanted to disappear. Everyone could see the fear in their eyes. Ava leaned down slightly to check Lucas. He nuzzled into her chest, trusting her completely. "You're safe now, little one," she whispered. "Mommy's not letting go." The moment was quiet, tense, and heavy. No one in the room moved. Ava stayed strong. Her body was tired, but her spirit was unbroken. She had done her job as a mother, as an FBI agent, and as a protector. Finally, After what felt like hours, Sergeant Karn spoke again. We need to call internal affairs. We need to contact your supervisor. He looked at Ava. I understand how serious this is. Ava nodded slightly. 10 minutes, she repeated softly. That's all it takes for the truth to come out. Outside, the wind continued to blow, carrying the smell of fallen leaves. Ava held Lucas tightly, knowing that no matter what happened next, she had protected her son. She had stood up to people who thought they could do anything, and she had won. Not with violence, but with courage, truth, and strength. The lesson was clear to everyone in the room. Power without accountability is dangerous, but courage, even from someone small and tired, can stop it. Ava's arms trembled as she held Lucas, but she felt a quiet pride. She had faced danger, pain, and fear, and she had protected the most important thing in her life. Her baby, her family, her duty. The officer stood silently, finally understanding what it meant to cross someone who was not afraid. And Ava Bennett, tired, hurt, but unbroken, had made sure that justice would follow. Everyone in the room froze. They realized that now they could not do bad things without getting caught. Lucas whimpered quietly. Ava held him tightly, wincing because her body hurt. Her arms were bleeding, and her body wanted medicine, but her mind stayed sharp. She had spent many years catching police officers who did bad things. She knew how the rules worked and how to stop people from cheating the system. Carnes, the officer in charge, opened his mouth to say something, then closed it. For the first time in his life, he had no plan, no tricks, no favors. This was serious. This wasn't just a small problem. This was federal level serious and personal. Ava's blood dripped quietly onto the floor. 10 minutes. That was all it would take for things to get worse if no one helped. The first aid room at the police station smelled like cleaning chemicals and fear. A paramedic named Sarah cleaned Ava's deep cuts carefully while she sat holding Lucas close. "Ma'am, we really should check the baby too," Sarah said gently. Her eyes were kind, not like the officers outside who were staring angrily. "I'll hold him while you check," Ava said firmly. She had learned from the FBI not to trust anyone, especially in this place. She moved Lucas just enough so Sarah could look at him. There was a red scratch on his cheek. Sarah cleaned it gently and put a tiny bandage on it. "He's lucky it wasn't worse," Sarah said quietly. Ava didn't want to think about what could have happened if she hadn't protected him. Suddenly, the door opened. Marcus, Ava's husband, ran in. "Ava, oh God," he said, hugging her and Lucas carefully. He saw her deep cuts. "I'm okay," Ava said, though her voice shook a little. "We're both okay," she added. Marcus touched Lucas's cheek gently. "They said there was a police problem, but I don't understand," Marcus said, confused. "Sir, please step back while I finish these bandages," Sarah said kindly but firmly. She finished cleaning and bandaging Ava's cuts and wrote everything down carefully. Outside the room, Ava heard officers whispering. Carnes was talking urgently to officers Ryan and Blake. "Wasn't supposed to be there," Carnes said quietly. The schedule showed. Ava's head snapped up. "What schedule?" She looked at Marcus, and he nodded. They had both heard it. The whispering stopped suddenly as footsteps came fast. A woman in a sharp suit walked in. Her heels clicked on the floor. "I'm Isabel Mendez, a civil rights lawyer," she said angrily. "This is absolutely unacceptable." Isabel went to Ava and stayed close to her. "I want all your injuries documented and sent to my office right away," she told Sarah. "And I want to see the body camera videos," she said sharply. "They aren't working," Officer Blake said nervously. "Technical malfunction," he added. Isabel laughed, but it wasn't funny. "Both cameras? What a coincidence. And I suppose the dash cam didn't work either." Blake didn't answer. "I've got videos from 3 different civilians. Do you want to see? The part where your K-9 units attacked a mother and her baby is very clear," Isabel said. Blake quickly left the room. Sarah finished bandaging Ava's cuts. "You need antibiotics," she said. "Dog bites can get infected." Isabel promised Ava she would make sure she got proper care. But first, everything needed to be recorded carefully. She took pictures of Ava's injuries with her phone. "This won't go away if they try to cover it up," Isabel said. Marcus walked nervously. I don't understand. Even for them, this is extreme. They attacked a woman leaving the hospital with a newborn. That's just it, Ava said slowly. She realized something. Carnes said she wasn't supposed to be there. They knew when she was leaving the hospital. They even knew her route home. They knew exactly who you are, Marcus said. That's the point, Ava said, holding Lucas carefully. I've been investigating corrupt police officers. Some of them are connected to this precinct. Through the door, more officers were arriving, talking nervously. The mood had changed. The broken cameras, the timing, the attempt to lie about it. This is an inside job, Isabel said. Marcus moved closer to Ava and Lucas. We need to get you both to a safe hospital, he said. No. First we need to... Ava started, but a loud commotion outside stopped her. High-ranking officers and a police union lawyer had arrived. They were gathering around Carnes's office, looking serious. They're trying to protect each other, Isabel said. We need to move quickly before evidence disappears. Ava watched everything, remembering every little detail. She turned to Marcus. This wasn't a mistake. They came for me. Someone gave the order, she said. That night at home, the house was quiet except for Lucas's soft breathing from the baby monitor. Marcus stood by his crib, carefully tucking Lucas in. The little bandage on his cheek felt like a reminder of the morning's danger. Ava lay in bed, unable to sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the dogs lunging at Lucas. Her arms hurt, but she didn't take her pain medicine. She needed her mind clear. Marcus entered quietly. He's finally asleep, he whispered, sitting beside her. How are you holding up? I keep seeing it, Ava said. How they didn't even hesitate. They attacked a woman holding a newborn. Marcus reached for her hand carefully. The video is everywhere now, he said. A student named Eric posted it online. It's already gone viral. People are angry. There are protests. Signs say justice for Agent Bennett and protect black mothers. The police union released a statement defending the officers. Marcus added, Defending? Ava repeated bitterly. A woman leaving the hospital with a newborn. They knew exactly who I was. This was a message. Lucas's soft breathing made Ava's heart clench. She had almost lost him. She couldn't sleep. At dawn, Ava got ready for work slowly, her movements careful. Marcus tried to make her rest, but she refused. If I don't go today, it looks like they won, she said, kissing Lucas's forehead before leaving. At the FBI office, it was unusually quiet. People stared as Ava walked to her desk, but quickly looked away. The place felt hostile. Nathan Cole, a longtime friend, approached her quietly. Ava, can we talk privately? They went to an empty conference room. Nathan's voice was low. This case is too hot. There's pressure from above to call it a misunderstanding and move on. Misunderstanding? They set dogs on my baby. Ava said angrily. I know, Nathan said, running his hand through his hair. There are bigger things. People inside the bureau are nervous about where your investigation might go. Some section chiefs aren't happy. They call it a powder keg. You know something specific. What aren't you telling me? Ava pressed. Nathan hesitated. Be careful what you write in reports. Some things disappear around here. He left quickly. Ava went back to her desk and started pulling files on recent corruption cases at that precinct. Her arms ached as she typed, the bandages catching on the keyboard. She noticed missing documents and incomplete statements. A shadow fell across her desk. Deputy Director Phillips stood there. Agent Bennett, we need to discuss your status. I'm gathering evidence. This is criminal. Ava started. You're on administrative leave. Phillips said, effective immediately. Standard procedure after trauma. Let internal affairs handle it. Internal affairs? This is criminal, Ava said, standing despite her pain. That's all, Agent Bennett. Clear your desk. Security will escort you out. As Ava packed her things under the watchful eyes of security, she noticed a plain white envelope. She slipped it into her bag without opening it. In her car, she opened it. Inside was a single paper. Drop it or your baby is next. Ava's hands shook, not with fear, but with anger. They had come for her son once. Now, they were threatening him again. Outside the FBI building, protesters gathered. News vans lined the street. Her phone buzzed with messages from reporters. They thought threatening Lucas would make her stop. They didn't understand. Threatening her baby made her want to bring the whole corrupt system down. The next morning, Ava met Isabel in her cluttered office. Sunlight shone through the blinds, stripes falling across papers and coffee cups. Ava's hands trembled as she passed the threat note. "This isn't normal police intimidation," Isabel said, reading it. "The timing, the targeting. Someone with real power is behind this." "What do you mean?" Ava asked. "Local cops don't know your hospital schedule. They can't manipulate FBI procedures. Someone higher up is orchestrating this," Isabel explained. Ava nodded slowly. "The deputy director put me on leave immediately. Called it standard after trauma. Nothing standard about it. They're isolating you, cutting off access," Isabel said, tapping her pen. "What cases were you working on?" "Several, but one was a task force investigating police corruption, unexplained wealth among certain officers." "Start there," Isabel advised. "I can request Ryan and Blake's financial records legally." Ava interrupted, showing her phone. "I already downloaded everything I could before they escorted me out." She leaned back in her chair, taking a deep breath. "They thought they could scare me into stopping. They don't know me. They don't know what I'm capable of. They threatened my baby, but that just made me stronger. I will expose them all." Isabel nodded. "Then we begin. Slowly, carefully, but we begin." Ava looked down at Lucas's picture on her phone. His tiny bandage on his cheek, his soft, sleeping face. It was a reminder. They couldn't hurt him again. And she wouldn't let them. The room was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner and the occasional scribble of Isabel's pen. The sun climbed higher, casting long stripes of light across the desk. Ava's mind raced. She thought of every detail from the hospital, the attack, the officers' whispers, and the failed cameras. Every detail was a clue, a piece of the puzzle. "They think they can hide," Ava whispered. "They can't." Isabel looked at her and smiled faintly. "Then let's show them what happens when someone like you doesn't back down." Ava picked up her phone again, reviewing the files she had already downloaded. Officer Ryan's bank records, Blake's property records, the civilian videos. They were all here. Evidence. Pieces of a puzzle she would use to expose the truth. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of the storm building inside the small office. But Ava Bennett was ready. No fear, no hesitation. Every wound, every scar, every threat only made her more determined. They had underestimated her once. They would not underestimate her again. She turned to Isabel. "We start today, step by step. I won't stop until everyone responsible is held accountable. For Lucas, for me, for every person they think they can scare into silence." Isabel nodded firmly. "Then let's get to work." Ava glanced at the clock. It was late morning. The protests outside were growing louder. News cameras flashed in the distance. But inside this office, two determined women were preparing to take down a corrupt system, one carefully documented piece of evidence at a time. Ava held Lucas's image in her mind and felt the fire of justice rise inside her. They had attacked her family. They had threatened her child. And now, they were going to pay the price. She pulled out the papers and spread them across Isabel's desk. There were a lot of papers, bank papers, house papers, and tax papers, and they covered almost a whole desk. Isabel and Ava looked at everything together, carefully checking each one. They were trying to figure out why Officer Donnie could suddenly buy a big vacation house in Florida when his police salary was small. "Look at this," Ava said, pointing to some transactions. "These are money payments that both officers received on the same days. And the money came from companies that don't really exist. Fake companies." Isabel whistled quietly. "This is serious. Real professionals set this up. Regular police officers couldn't do this on their own." Ava pulled up another paper. "I checked these companies. They appear in other cases, all about officers accused of being corrupt or hurting people. And all of these cases were quietly closed by the same FBI boss, Director Ethan. Ethan? Isabel raised her eyebrows. I know that name. He always handles tricky cases. Somehow, he always finds a reason why charges can't stick. Ava quickly looked at his history on her phone. In the past 5 years, he had closed 37 investigations about police corruption. Every time the evidence disappeared or witnesses suddenly changed their stories. And now he's going after you, Isabel said seriously. Why? What were you close to finding? Ava spread out her notes. We were investigating officers who were asking local businesses for money, mostly in neighborhoods with black families. But it's worse than that. Drugs disappeared from evidence. Guns were sold back on the street. This is a kind of crime that needs someone very high up to keep it secret, Isabel said. Someone who can hide investigations and protect officers. Someone like Ethan. Ava's voice was hard. They attacked me because I was getting close. They wanted to scare me away and make me look unstable. Isabel studied the threat note again. This is his style. He doesn't attack directly. He just pressures and scares people until they give up. How many other agents did he make leave? Isabel asked. Ava was already checking records. In the past 10 years, 6 agents left or moved after conflict with Ethan. All were investigating police corruption. They said it was for personal reasons, and that's only the ones we know about. Isabel added, how many others stayed quiet, saw what happened, and looked the other way? They both felt the weight of it. This wasn't just one attack or one corrupt person. This was a system that silenced anyone trying to find the truth. We have to be careful, Isabel warned. Ethan has had years to make friends in powerful places. Judges, media people, politicians. He knows them all. I don't care, Ava said firmly. He went after my baby. That was a mistake. They'll try to make you look angry and unstable, Isabel said. The hurt mother out for revenge. Ava stayed calm. Let them try. Every attack shows everyone else how bad it really is. Every threat proves what we're dealing with. She stood up, picking up the papers. Her injuries hurt, but she straightened her back. This isn't just about me anymore, she told Isabel. It's about everyone they silenced. Every agent made to leave. Every victim was forced to drop charges. Every family denied justice because Ethan said it was too inconvenient. What's our next move? Isabel asked. We follow the money, Ava said. Ethan has been protecting these officers for years. He must be getting something in return. We find his weakness. We crack this whole thing open. She looked out the window at the city below. Protesters were marching, holding signs asking for justice. They thought threatening my son would make me stop. Ava said quietly, they don't know. Mothers are the most dangerous when their children are threatened. And lawyers are dangerous too, Isabel added with a serious smile, especially when they see a cover-up. A week later, the city was full of protesters. Eric Hall's video of the K-9 attack had gone viral online. People were angry. Thousands gathered outside City Hall. Signs waved in the wind. Justice for Ava. Protect black mothers. No more police violence. The streets were crowded, and the air buzzed with excitement and anger. People were chanting and holding banners high. Ava could hear their voices from far away, echoing against the tall buildings. Ava walked slowly through the crowd. Her wounds were still hurting under her clothes. Marcus stayed close, holding one hand near her back to make sure she didn't fall. The bandages on her arms were showing under her short sleeves. She didn't try to hide them. Let everyone see what they did to me, she thought. Are you sure you can do this? Marcus asked softly. He looked worried, his eyes full of concern. I have to, Ava said. Her legs hurt, but she held her head high. These people deserved answers. The crowd moved aside when they saw her. Phones came out to record every moment. Someone started chanting her name, and soon others joined in. Ava, Ava. A tall man in a priest's collar came forward. He seemed very respected. Agent Bennett, he said warmly, holding out his hand. I'm Reverend Samuel Malcolm. Thank you for coming. Ava shook his hand. Call me Ava, she said. His eyes were kind but sad. There are some people I want you to meet. He led them to a group of women standing near the steps. Their faces were sad but strong. This is Maria Thompson. Her son Marcus was killed 3 years ago in a traffic stop. Patricia Wilson, her daughter Shanice, died in police custody. And Beverly Jackson, her grandson Tyler, was shot in his backyard. Each woman hugged Ava. Their shared pain made them feel connected instantly. Ava felt a mix of sadness and courage. Beverly touched Ava's arm bandaged gently. "We saw what happened to you and your baby," she said, her voice shaking. "But you survived. You're fighting back. That gives us hope." Maria nodded. "They tried to hide our stories. The police and courts protected each other. But they can't hide yours because you're FBI. They have to listen to you." Ava felt tears coming. "I'm so sorry for your losses," she said. "What happened to your children wasn't right, and what happened to me shows the system is still broken." "Tell them," Samuel encouraged. He pointed to the crowd. "They need to hear your voice." Ava looked at Marcus, who squeezed her hand. She took a deep breath and spoke to the crowd. "A week ago, I was walking home from the hospital with my newborn son," she began. Her voice carried over the quiet crowd. "I had just given birth. I was tired, sore, but so happy." She paused, steadying herself. Then she continued, "2 police officers thought I looked suspicious. They didn't ask questions. They didn't check my ID. They just let their dogs attack me." The crowd murmured angrily. Ava's voice grew stronger. "I am an FBI agent. I spent my life following the law, but it didn't matter that day. All they saw was a black woman. They could hurt without consequences." She gestured to the grieving mothers beside her. These women lost their children to the same system. Their stories were ignored. Their pain was dismissed. But I will not be silenced. I will not back down. The crowd erupted with cheers. People shouted her name, waving their signs high. Samuel raised his hands. "What do you want us to do?" If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe and share your favorite part in the comments below. And don't forget to drop a heart to show your support. Someone shouted, "How can we help?" "Stay peaceful, but stay loud," Ava answered. "Document everything. Share your stories. The system counts on our silence. But together, our voices are too strong to ignore." Beverly stepped forward and took Ava's hand. "We stand with you," she said. "All of us mothers who suffered are behind you." The chanting started again, louder this time. "No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace." Samuel addressed the crowd. "This is more than one incident. This is about changing a system that treats our community like enemies instead of citizens." Ava looked at the crowd. People of all ages and races were there, full of anger and hope. Her wounds hurt, but their energy made her strong. "I will use every legal tool I have," she promised. "Every resource, every connection. The truth will come out." The crowd cheered again. Marcus supported her as she swayed slightly. The pain was heavy, but she stayed standing. "You should rest," he whispered. Ava nodded, but then she saw something at the edge of the crowd. A black car with government plates was parked a little way off. Behind the dark windows, a man was watching everything closely. Ava stayed calm. Someone was watching her for Ethan. "Let's go home," she told Marcus, letting him guide her. People in the crowd touched her arm or whispered thanks. The mothers hugged her and asked her to stay in touch. Samuel gave her his card. "You are not alone in this fight," he said. "We are here for you." Back at the FBI office, Ava waited by Nathan Cole's desk. She tapped her fingers nervously. He came in with coffee. "We need to talk," she said quietly. "Now." Nathan glanced around the office and nodded toward an empty conference room. Ava closed the blinds. "That FBI car at the protest," she said, crossing her arms. "Who sent it?" Nathan's face tightened. "You weren't supposed to see that." "I'm trained to notice things, Nathan. Just like you're trained to give straight answers to questions," she said. He set down his coffee and ran a hand through his hair. "Ethan is watching everything you do. Every move, every conversation. He has people in this building reporting to him." "Why? What's he afraid I'll find?" "You need to drop this. Nathan warned. The K-9 attack, the protests. Let it go. Whitford won't stop until I'm scared. Until my career is ruined. Or maybe until something happens to my baby. Ava said firmly. Nathan's eyes widened. Has someone threatened Lucas? You tell me, Nathan. You seem to know a lot, she said. He looked guilty. I'm trying to help you. Ethan has connections way above our pay grade. Police chiefs, judges, maybe higher. Ava pulled out her phone and showed him bank papers. Officer Ryan got 4 payments of $5,000 last month. Officer Blake got the same from a company called Riverfront Holdings, LLC. Nathan went pale. Where did you get those? I'm good at my job, Nathan, Ava said. Riverfront Holdings is part of a network of fake companies. And guess whose name is on the papers? Ethan's wife's cousin. Same address, same phone number. He made a mistake. She showed more papers. And here are meetings between Ethan and Police Chief Roland Kane. Off the books, private places. But parking receipts and security cameras leave clues. Jesus, Ava. Nathan said, leaning against the wall, you've been busy. I'm not the only one looking, Ava said. Isabel Moreno, my lawyer, is building a RICO case. A pattern of corruption, abuse, and misuse of money. You can't prove it connects to the K-9 attack yet. Ava's voice hardened. But Whitford and Roland meet every Thursday at the River's Edge Hotel, room 412. They think it's private, but the walls are thin. In about 3 hours, they'll talk about the black agent causing trouble. This is insane, Nathan said. They won't catch me, Ava said. But I need your help, Nathan. You're one of the good ones. Staying quiet makes you part of the problem. Nathan was quiet for a moment. What do you need? I need cover for this afternoon. If anyone asks, I'm following up on the Morrison case in Southside. Nathan nodded slowly. Okay, but Ava, be careful. She smiled grimly. I know exactly what they are. 3 hours later, Ava sat in the service closet next to room 412, headphones on. The small recording device was picking up every word to the hotel wall. She pressed her hand against her Nathanak, thinking of her baby. Every sound, every word to the wall brought her closer to finding the truth. The game was dangerous, but she was ready. The protests were getting worse. Crow's voice came through clearly. Your agent is causing big trouble, he said. She'll give up, Ethan replied, sounding confident. They always do when it gets personal. The dog attack was supposed to scare her, Crow said. But now she's a hero. Then we hit harder. Ethan said like they were talking about the weather. Break her. Make everyone obey. That's what we do. The people are supporting her, Crow said. The pastor, the mothers, they let them march. Let them shout. The system always protects itself in the end. We both know that. They laughed. Ava's blood boiled. She listened quietly, holding her recording device. It was very clear. Crow asked, did the money go through? Of course, Ethan said. Riverfront Holdings paid like always. Keep your people in line and everything's fine. Ryan and Blake are worried about the FBI, Crow added. Tell them not to worry. I've got all covered. No one is checking their money. More laughter. Ava's hands made tight fists. They were bragging about being corrupt and sure nothing could touch them. After an hour, the meeting ended. Ava waited until she couldn't hear their footsteps. She checked the recording. Everything was there, payments, cover-ups, and their plan to target her. Her phone buzzed. It was Isabel. Did you get it? Ava smiled. Got everything, she whispered and typed back. Meeting in an hour. My office. Bringing the U.S. attorney. Today it ends. Ava slipped out of the hotel quietly, keeping the recorder safe in her pocket. Her body ached from her injuries, but her adrenaline made her strong. After today, Whitford and Crow's corruption would start to fall apart. She thought of Beverly, Maria, and Patricia, mothers who lost their children. She thought of Eric Hall, who bravely filmed the attack, and Reverend Malcolm and the protesters fighting for change. Most of all, she thought of Lucas, safe at home with Marcus. This wasn't just about justice. It was about making sure no other mother had to hide her baby from police dogs. No other family had to bury their child because of corrupt cops. The system might be broken, but she had the proof to start fixing it. One recording. Two arrogant men who thought they were untouchable. One mother is determined to protect every child in her community. At Isabel's office, federal prosecutors looked at the recording carefully. Assistant U.S. Attorney Sarah Chin listened, her face growing serious. "The arrogance is amazing," Chin said. "They didn't even try to hide it." Ava sat up straight, despite her aches. "We also have the money trail," Isabel said, spreading documents. "Bank records, shell companies, everything. This is classic corruption. They could face serious prison time." Chin nodded. "I'll file the charges tonight. Judge Trent's court tomorrow morning. He's strict but fair." "I know him," Ava said. "He always follows the law, no matter who's involved." That evening, Ava drove home. The streetlights made soft pools of light on the sidewalk, the same sidewalk where police dogs had attacked her days before. The memory still hurt, but now justice felt close. Marcus met her at the door, holding Lucas asleep in his arms. "How did it go?" he asked. "Better than we hoped," Ava said, gently touching their son's bandaged cheek. "The prosecutors are ready. Nathan Rowe, it all comes out." "You did it," Marcus whispered proudly. "You really did it." "We did it," Ava said, leaning into him. Everyone in the community helped. Eric with his video, Reverend Malcolm, the mothers, everyone. That night, for the first time since the attack, Ava slept without nightmares. The next morning, the courthouse steps were full of protesters. Signs said, "Justice for Ava" and "Stop police corruption." Reverend Malcolm led prayers, and mothers shared stories of hope and loss. Inside, the courtroom was tense. Ava sat with Isabel, straight-backed and focused. Across from them, Ethan lounged like it was just a minor traffic ticket. Judge Raymond Herron entered, his black robes flowing. His face showed no emotion. Chun presented the evidence. "Your Honor," she said, "this recording shows Section Chief Ethan and Police Chief Roland talking about illegal payments, obstruction of justice, and targeting Agent Bennett." Roland listened quietly. Then he spoke. "How was this recording obtained?" "Through standard investigation techniques, Your Honor." "Agent Bennett, did she have a warrant?" Harlan asked sharply. Chin hesitated. "The circumstances. There was an imminent threat." "Yes or no, Counselor," Harlan said. "No, Your Honor," Chin admitted. "But under federal law, 18 U.S.C. 2511, recording is allowed." Harlan's voice grew cold. "I know the Fourth Amendment, too. This recording was illegal. It had no proper authorization. Fruit of the poisonous tree. The evidence is inadmissible." The room erupted in murmurs. Outside, protesters shouted. "Your Honor," Chin tried. "These allegations are serious." "That makes following proper procedure even more important," Harlan said, slamming his gavel. "This recording is not allowed. All evidence from it is thrown out. Case dismissed." Ava felt the room spin. It couldn't be happening. "After everything," Harlan continued, "I'm ordering an internal investigation into Agent Bennett's illegal surveillance." Isabel grabbed Ava's arm. "Your Honor." She was protecting herself and her child from what exactly? "I only see a federal agent breaking the law based on suspicion," Harlan said coldly. "This case is dismissed." The protesters outside screamed in anger. Ava sat frozen. The judge she trusted, who always seemed fair, wouldn't even look at her. Ethan stood slowly, straightening his suit, smirking at Harlan and Ava. Ava realized corruption went deeper than she imagined. Every case he dismissed, every evidence he suppressed, he protected them all. Ava's key scraped in the lock just past 9. The house smelled warm and cozy, with Marcus cooking, his way of showing love. She dropped her bag, feeling heavy with defeat. "In here," Marcus called. "I made your mom's lasagna recipe." Ava found him at the stove, Lucas in his high chair. "You didn't have to cook," she said, kissing him. "It's been a long day," Marcus said. "Cooking helps me calm down. Besides, someone insisted on helping." He nodded at Lucas, who somehow had Nathanado sauce on his nose. Ava wiped his face and gave a weak smile. Lucas grabbed her finger, tiny and trusting. The scratch on his cheek was healing, but seeing it still hurt her Nathanak. Want to talk about it? Marcus asked. Not yet, Ava said, sinking into a chair. I just need to think about the judge. I trusted him, Marcus. I testified in his court many times. And now this. Marcus set a glass of wine in front of her. Food first, plan later. They ate slowly, trying to feel normal. Marcus talked about his students' history projects and a community garden he was planning. Lucas babbled and giggled, breaking the heavy mood. Look at him, Marcus said softly. He doesn't know the world isn't perfect. I want to keep it that way, Ava whispered. But after today, I don't know if I can protect him. Marcus reached for her hand. You're not alone. We protect him together. After dinner, they did their usual evening routine. Marcus gave Lucas a bath while Ava cleaned up. Mundane tasks helped calm her thoughts. She heard splashing in Marcus's playful voice. No, buddy, the rubber duck stays in the tub. By 10, Lucas was asleep. Ava watched him, memorizing every detail of his face. Marcus wrapped his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. Come to bed, he murmured. You need rest. Suddenly, there was a crash downstairs. Ava's FBI training kicked in. Get Lucas, she hissed. She grabbed her backup gun as heavy footsteps came up the stairs. Marcus scooped up their son, who started crying. Ava stood in the hallway, gun raised. Federal agent, stop, she shouted. Two shadows appeared at the top of the stairs. One lunged at her with a metal pipe or crowbar. Ava fired a warning shot into the ceiling. The intruder didn't stop. She swept his legs, sending him crashing into the wall. The second attacker tried to circle her. Marcus shouted, Stay back. Ava hit the first man in the Nathanak, then spun to face the second. He was bigger, wearing dark clothes and a ski mask. He swung at her head. She ducked, ramming her shoulder into him. They crashed into the hallway table. Photos shattered. The first attacker tried to get up. Ava kicked his knee. He screamed. The second attacker ran toward Lucas's room. No! Ava screamed. She fired again, grazing his shoulder. Marcus swung the changing table at him. It hit with a sickening crack. The man dropped. Sirens wailed in the distance. The first attacker dragged himself down the stairs, leaving a trail of blood. Ava kept her gun on him. Marcus, Lucas, we're okay. Her voice shook. Marcus held them tight. We're okay, baby. Look at Mama. Ava turned to check Lucas's crib and froze. The mattress was on the floor. A hunting knife stuck out of the wooden frame, where her son's head had been minutes before. A note was pinned under it. The paper was white and scary against the dark wood. The second bad guy groaned and started to wake up. Ava quickly kicked his gun away. She pulled out an extra set of handcuffs and locked his hands tightly. Her own hands were steady, but she was very, very angry. Red and blue lights from police cars lit up the street outside. Car doors slammed and officers' boots hit the pavement as they ran toward the house, responding to the shots. Ava barely heard their questions. She stood inside Lucas's room, staring at the knife on the floor, while the police took pictures and wrote down every detail. Marcus sat in the rocking chair, holding their son, who was finally asleep. They came into our home, Ava thought, her voice trembling inside. They threatened my baby. One of the officers approached slowly and cautiously. We need your statement, ma'am. Ava turned toward him, her voice cold and steady. Booked them for trying to kill a federal agent, breaking into our home, attacking with a weapon, and trying to hurt a baby. Take their fingerprints, DNA, everything, and get FBI Assistant Director Marcus on the phone. Then she walked carefully over to Marcus and gently touched Lucas's curly hair. Their son moved slightly in his sleep, but stayed asleep, not knowing how close he had been to danger. Marcus held Ava's hand tightly. They won't stop, he whispered. No, Ava said, her jaw clenched. But neither will I. They want to fight? I'll give them one. She looked down at the knife glinting in the crime scene lights, thinking about what the men and the corrupt system behind them were willing to do. But they had made a huge mistake. They had threatened her baby, and no one is more dangerous than a mother protecting her child. Later, Ava, Marcus, and Lucas stayed in the basement of Bethlehem Church. The basement smelled of old floors and coffee. Reverend Malcolm had turned the Sunday schoolroom into a bedroom for them, with a portable crib for Lucas. It wasn't home, but it was safe for now. The Lord's house is your safe place for as long as you need it, Reverend Malcolm said, placing a fresh pot of coffee on the small table. His voice was calm but firm. These walls have protected many people who fought against evil. Isabel Moreno sat at a folding table, surrounded by papers. She hadn't slept either. Her usually perfect suit was wrinkled, and her hair was messy. She looked tired but determined. The attack changes everything, she said. We can take this to the federal courts now, but they'll try to block it too. They always do. Ava walked back and forth across the concrete floor, her boots making loud echoes. Every few steps, she glanced at Lucas sleeping in his crib. Marcus had finally fallen asleep in one of the chairs, but Ava couldn't rest. Heron had shown them that the system was rigged, that the law wasn't fair. Then we go bigger, Ava said firmly. Isabel shuffled through her papers, writing notes quickly. The judge's decision was completely unfair. He had no legal reason to block that recording. Someone is controlling him. Ava stopped pacing. The question is, who? The basement door creaked. Nathan Cole appeared at the top of the stairs, looking nervous. Can I come down? He asked. Reverend Malcolm nodded. Ava noticed his hand slide into his pocket, where she knew he kept a small gun. After tonight's attack, no one was taking chances. I've been following the money trail you found, Nathan said, sitting down at the table. It's bigger than Ethan, bigger than the whole police department. What did you find? Ava asked, leaning forward. Judge Rowland, Nathan said. He's connected to Senator Dominic Langford. Langford personally recommended him for the federal court 15 years ago. Ava muttered. The law and order senator, the one who pretends to fight crime while protecting dirty cops. Classic misdirection, she added, shaking her head. Nathan pulled out his phone, showing them some photos. Rowland and Langford meet twice a month at the Capitol Hill Club. No staff allowed. And look who was there last month, Nathan said. Ava's breath caught. The grainy photo showed Ethan slipping through the club's back entrance. That's not all, Nathan continued. Langford controls a committee that gives money to federal law enforcement. Departments covering up corruption get their funds from him. Reverend Malcolm leaned back, his face serious. A perfect way to control investigations. If you control the money, you control the cops. The shell company paying Ryan and Blake? Ava asked. Yes, Nathan said. It goes through 6 layers of companies, but yes, Langford is connected. They're laundering millions. Drugs, bribes, protection payments, money from evidence tampering. Isabel was furiously taking notes. We need federal warrants, bank records, wiretaps. But Rowland controls those. He'll warn them if we act too quickly. We have to build the case carefully. Start with tonight's attack, Isabel said. Those men will talk to save themselves if they live that long. Ava's hand drifted toward her gun. Langford has resources. Prison accident happened. The room grew quiet, except for Lucas's soft breathing. Ava watched her son, thinking of all the other children hurt by this corrupt system. How many cases did Langford bury? How many victims did Rowland silence? She whispered. This goes to the Senate, she said. A U.S. senator is running a criminal empire and crushing anyone who threatens him. Nathan shifted nervously. Ava, maybe we should back off. Langford can destroy careers, families. They already tried to kill my son. Ava's voice cut like steel. There's no backing off now. Then we need a plan, Isabel said, pacing like a lawyer preparing for court. Langford has 3 layers of protection. Dirty cops on the street, Ethan in the bureau, Rowland on the bench. We have to crack all 3 layers at once, and fast, before they realize we know about the senator. Reverend Malcolm poured fresh coffee, moving slowly and deliberately. The community will stand with you. Thousands of people will demand justice when you're ready. Ava stared at the photos, memorizing faces, remembering connections, thinking through the plan. But first, she said, we need evidence that even Roland can't block. Something that shows the whole network. The attack tonight helps, Isabel said. It shows how far they'll go. But we need something bigger. We need the drugs, the bribes, the cover-ups. Something that ties everything together. Marcus stirred on his chair, blinking awake. What did I miss? He asked. Ava told him. We found the puppet master, Senator Dominic Langford. He's been protecting corrupt cops and judges, running a criminal empire through federal agencies. Marcus sat up slowly. The tough-on-crime senator? The one always talking about law and order? Isabel's voice was bitter. While he preaches justice, he's selling it to the highest bidder. Ava sank into a chair, the weight of it all pressing down. A U.S. senator controlling everything. The layers of protection seemed impossible to break. But then Lucas whimpered in his sleep. Ava's determination hardened. They try to kill my baby to protect this corrupt system. Now I'll tear it down no matter how high it goes, she thought. The basement fell quiet. Dawn was breaking outside, pale light creeping through the high windows. Another day fighting a broken system. But this time they knew who really pulled the strings. The FBI press room was full of noise. Cameras flashed red. Reporters held phones high, ready to broadcast live. Ava stood at the podium, her badge heavy in her pocket. She wore a black suit that hid her wounds, though she still had a slight limp. Thank you all for coming, she said clearly. After 12 years with the FBI, I am resigning, effective immediately. Gasps filled the room. Camera shutters clicked nonstop. Ava spotted Eric Hall, the student who had filmed her attack. His face showed disappointment. Recent events made it clear I cannot serve effectively within the system. Ava continued. When K-9 units were sent after my newborn son, I believed justice would work. I was wrong. Questions erupted from the reporters. Ava raised her hand for silence. To the community who supported me, I'm sorry. I must put my family's safety first. No mother should choose between justice and her child's life. In the back of the room, she saw Director Ethan smirking. Let him think he won. Outside, protesters chanted her name, but as her words echoed through the building, their voices fell silent. Signs went down. Hope seemed gone. I will make no further statements and ask for privacy, Ava said firmly. Ava stepped back, ignoring the shouted questions. Isabel met her in the hallway, playing her part perfectly. Are you sure about this? She asked loud enough for everyone to hear. It's over, Ava replied, her voice hollow. They won. They walked to the parking garage. In the car, Ava finally allowed herself a small smile. Did Vance take the bait? She whispered. Isabel nodded. He called my office 10 minutes after I leaked that you were considering a deal. He wants to meet tonight. Dominic Vance was Langford's fixer. He made problems disappear with briefcases full of cash. He had been untouchable for years. Location? Ava asked. The Capitol Grill downtown. Private room in the back. Isabel drove carefully through quiet streets. Nathan confirmed Vance's usual table. The restaurant had camera blind spots. Perfect. Ava touched the small recorder hidden in her blazer. How much is my silence worth? She whispered. Vance hadn't said over the phone, but he mentioned retirement money. The Capitol Grill was old-school Washington. Dark wood and brass everywhere, private booths, and dim lights. They were led to a back room with heavy curtains that blocked the view from the main dining area. Dominic Vance waited alone, silver hair perfect, Rolex shining in the dim light. Agent Bennett, or Ava is fine, he said. They shook hands. His smile was practiced and cold. Please sit, he gestured. I ordered wine. I think you'll appreciate it. I don't drink with strangers, Ava said. Direct. I like that, Vance said, smiling. Let's be direct. My associates want to ensure your comfort if you stay quiet. Quiet about what? Ava asked. About certain officers, corruption, evidence. The judge. All of it must disappear, he said. Ava touched her hidden recorder, which was pressing against her ribs. You seem worried about the recording, Vance said. Certain conversations were not meant for public ears. I never mentioned the senator, Ava said. You didn't have to, Vance said. I know. Ava pulled a pen. So this contract buys my complete silence? Vance nodded. Sign it. You won't have to work again. Your son will be safe. You'll get full benefits, a signing bonus, everything. Just walk away. Ava's hand shook slightly, but she signed. The recorder captured every word. Vance smiled, thinking he had won. Welcome to early retirement, he said. Ava shook his hand. We all make our choices, Mr. Vance. The taxi pulled away from Ava's house. Neighbors watched, thinking she was leaving the city for good. Marcus waved with Lucas in his arms, playing his part. But the taxi didn't go to the airport. It wound through back streets until it reached Reverend Malcolm's church. Ava slipped in the side door, where Isabel waited with a burner phone and a laptop. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. The news is already saying you ran away from the city, Isabel said, handing Ava some small electronic devices. Ethan's people are watching the airports. Good, Ava thought. She carefully sat down in the little office inside the church. The room was small, with only a few desks and old chairs, but they had turned it into a temporary command center. Ava wanted everyone to think she was scared, alone, and cut off from help. She knew that pretending to be helpless would make the people she was trying to catch let their guard down. Reverend Malcolm walked in carrying a tray with 2 cups of coffee. The basement apartment is ready, he said quietly. Nobody knows it exists except the church founders. It's hidden so well that even people who come to church every week don't know about it. Ava walked slowly down to the basement, touching the old, worn walls. They felt rough under her fingers, but there was something magical about them. They had been built during the civil rights era. Back then, brave people used the hidden basement to hide from people who wanted to hurt them. Now, Ava thought it would be used to fight for justice again. Marcus will bring Lucas at night, Malcolm said, smiling softly. No one will even question a father taking his son to church. Ava nodded, feeling her chest tighten. She already missed her baby, Lucas, who was only a few months old. But she knew she had to stay apart from him for now. If anyone knew she had him close, it could put him in danger. She had to appear completely alone. Using a burner phone, Ava started leaving fake clues online. She pretended to search for hidden bank accounts in other countries. She pretended to move cash secretly. She even wrote email drafts about meeting someone to take a bribe. It was all fake, but it had to look real. The goal was to trick Langford and Ethan into thinking she would take their money. How long until they fall for it? Isabel asked, sitting next to Ava, watching her carefully. Not long, Ava said, glancing at her watch. Vance tells Langford everything. The senator is too proud to let anyone else handle this. He'll want to oversee it personally. And she was right. Within hours, pictures arrived from Nathan Cole showing Langford in an emergency meeting with Ethan. Ava smiled quietly. The trap was set. Days passed slowly in the basement. Ava pretended to be far away, isolated, while she carefully watched communications coming in. Marcus brought Lucas every night, and those few hours with her baby gave her hope and strength. She held him close, kissed his tiny forehead, and whispered, "Mommy is almost done. We'll be safe soon." On the 4th night, the burner phone rang. Vance's smooth, confident voice came through. "The bribe has been approved at the highest level," he said. "Cash payment, and after her own night. The senator wants to make sure it's done properly." "Where?" Ava asked. "The Mayflower Hotel, presidential suite." "Come alone," Vance said. "Perfect." Ava already knew the hotel security cameras would record every angle. She could hide tiny cameras in her clothes and recorders in her shoes. Every word spoken by Langford, Ethan, and Vance would be caught. The next day, Ava and Isabel prepared carefully. They planted microscopic cameras and recorders in Ava's clothing. There were so many cameras. It was like she had eyes all over her body. Every move, every word, every sound would be captured. "Remember," Isabel warned, "once they give you the money, they will be the most dangerous. Men like Langford can't help themselves." They love to gloat and intimidate. Ava checked her hidden weapons. She smiled a little. Langford and his friends thought they were clever, but tonight she would show them they were wrong. Evening fell over Washington, D.C., like a heavy, dark curtain. Ava took a long, careful route to the Mayflower Hotel, watching every corner. The hotel's elegant lobby was nearly empty when she arrived, making it easier to get to the presidential suite unnoticed. The presidential suite was enormous, taking up half the top floor. Two men in black suits, carrying guns, stood at the door. They were private security, not police or federal agents. They patted her down, but they didn't find the well-hidden cameras she had placed on her body. Inside, Senator Langford sat in a big chair like a king holding court. Ethan stood at his side, and Vance lounged on a leather sofa, looking very relaxed. On the coffee table between them rested a shiny silver briefcase. "Miss Bennett," Langford said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, "I'm so pleased we could resolve this unfortunate situation." Ava kept her voice calm and neutral. "I didn't expect you to handle this personally. Some matters require personal touch." Langford said smoothly. He pointed to the briefcase. "Shall we?" Vance opened it. Inside were neat stacks of $100 bills. $2 million as promised. Ava forced herself to smile. "And this money buys your complete silence," Langford said. "Of course," Ava replied evenly. Ethan frowned. "Everything, Director," he said sharply. Langford waved him down. "Let's be civilized. Ms. Bennett understands, right?" "I understand perfectly," Ava said calmly, touching the money. Langford explained that this covered the dog attack, the cover-up, Judge Trent's ruling, and anything else they might have thought to blame her for. Ethan pulled out papers. "Sign these first. Non-disclosure agreements." Very thorough. Ava took the pen, making sure every recorder caught every word. "And if I ever change my mind," Langford said, leaning forward slightly, "then the world is a dangerous place. Are you threatening my baby, Senator?" Ava asked, her voice sharp but steady. "I'm merely stating facts," Langford said calmly. "Like your baby's daycare has very limited security, or that your husband's school parking lot is quite dark at night." The recorders caught it all. His threat was clear. He didn't even hide it. "Sign," Whitford commanded. Ava signed, keeping her hand steady. Each signature was another crime caught on tape. "Welcome to the private sector," Langford said, pushing the briefcase toward her. Ava stood, lifting the briefcase with ease. "You won't see me coming at all," she said quietly. She left the suite and whispered to her hidden recorder, "Got every last one of you." The evidence was perfect. Langford had threatened her baby. Ethan helped facilitate bribes. Vance was involved too. The money itself was marked and could be traced. Their own arrogance had done the work for her. Nath in a row, everything will explode. But tonight, they celebrated, thinking they had won. The next day, the National Press Club was buzzing. Hundreds of reporters packed the main ballroom. Cameras were ready. Laptops were open. Everyone wanted to witness history. The room hadn't been this full since the Watergate hearings decades ago. Reverend Malcolm stepped to the podium. His presence made everyone immediately quiet. "Today, we witness what one woman's courage can accomplish," he said in a deep, commanding voice. When they attacked her, they thought she would break. When they threatened her baby, they expected her to run. When they offered millions for her silence, they believed she would sell her soul. They were wrong. Ava emerged from a side entrance, walking tall, despite her still visible scars. Her FBI badge shone on her chest. Flashbulbs went off everywhere. "Ladies and gentlemen," Malcolm continued, "I present Special Agent Ava Bennett, the woman who refused to be broken." Ava took the podium, her hands resting on the wooden edges. She waited until the room was completely silent. Then she spoke. 2 months ago, I was attacked by police dogs while holding my newborn son," she said. Her voice was clear and unwavering. "That attack was not an accident. It was planned by powerful men who thought they were above the law. Today, you will hear their own words convict them." She pressed a button, and the big screen behind her lit up with crystal clear audio and video. The footage showed Langford in the Mayflower Hotel, threatening Ava and her baby. The audience gasped. Then it switched to Chief Roland Kane and Director Ethan laughing about hurting her. People in the room were shocked and some covered their mouths. "Notice the date stamps," Ava said, pointing to the corner. "This meeting happened hours after the K-9 attack. While I was in the hospital, they celebrated." The evidence kept coming. Judge Trent appeared and recorded calls, promising Ethan he would hide evidence. Bank records showed millions flowing through fake companies. Social media exploded with breaking news. Justice for Ava and the corruption she uncovered was trending nationwide. This conspiracy goes from street-level police officers to a sitting United States senator, Ava said. They built an empire of corruption, protecting criminals while punishing honest citizens. She pressed a button. The last recording played. Langford saying, "Accidents happen to former agents, their families, and their babies." The audience gasped. Phones buzzed with breaking news alerts. Outside, crowds began gathering, drawn by the live broadcasts. "I am not their first victim," Ava said, her voice rising, "but I will be their last." On the screen, live feed showed FBI teams approaching Ethan's office building. Police vehicles surrounded Langford's mansion, lights flashing. Federal arrest warrants had already been issued 20 minutes ago. The cameras showed Ethan being let out in handcuffs. Chief Roland tried to flee, but ran straight into waiting agents. Judge Herron, head bowed, surrendered at his chambers. The live feed showed Senator Langford barricaded in his study. He had barely finished shredding papers when agents burst in. Ava's voice cut through the chaos. "This is your answer. To every citizen who has suffered under corrupt power, this is your vindication." Reverend Malcolm stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder. The gesture showed the union of moral conscience and legal authority. Reporters shouted questions, but Ava raised a hand. "There will be time for questions later. Right now, justice is still being served. Watch." The screen showed Langford being escorted out of his mansion in handcuffs. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his face pale. Decades of untouchable power had crumbled in minutes. More arrests followed. Officer Ryan and Blake, the K-9 handlers who attacked Ava, were taken from their homes. Dominic Vance, trying to board a private jet, was stopped. "Let this be clear," Ava declared, her voice strong. "No one is above the law. No badge, no gavel, no Senate seat grants immunity from justice." The evidence kept playing. Corruption exposed in sunlight. Each new revelation drew more gasps. Reporters scrambled to cover every angle. Outside, crowd grew larger. People cheered with every arrest. Signs changed from demand for justice to celebrations of its arrival. In the press club, Ava stood unwavering at the podium, watching arrests continue in real time. Her quiet strength spoke louder than words. She had gone from victim to Dominic, from target to triumphant. Inside the federal courthouse, the tension was thick. Every seat was full. Ava Bennett approached the witness stand, walking confidently. Her FBI badge gleamed at her side. She raised her right hand to be sworn in, her eyes scanning the defendant's table, where a former tormentor sat in prison orange. "Agent Bennett," Isabel Moreno began, her voice sharp and clear. "Please tell the court about the events of May 15th. Ava's testimony was precise and clear. She described the K-9 attack in detail, leaving jurors wiping away tears. She explained how she shielded her baby, and mothers in the gallery openly cried. Isabel continued, "Show us Exhibit 27. The courtroom darkened. Security footage played, showing Ryan and Blake receiving instructions from Chief Roland hours before the attack. Their casual laughter as they planned the assault made several jurors flinch. "They knew exactly who I was," Ava said. "They knew I was investigating corruption in their department. They wanted to scare me." Whitford shifted uncomfortably as more evidence mounted. Email chains showed how he systematically protected corrupt officers. Bank records revealed millions in bribes moving through complicated networks. When Isabel played the recording of Ethan laughing about breaking the black agent, his calm facade finally cracked. He stared at his hands, unable to meet the jury's disgusted glares. "And what happened when you tried to report this corruption?" Isabel asked. Ava turned toward where the former judge sat. He blocked every attempt. Judge Heron dismissed evidence, threw out cases, buried complaints, all while taking payments from Senator Langford's organization. The prosecution showed Trent's bank records. Years of suspicious deposits matched perfectly with dismissed cases. The former judge seemed to shrink in his chair. Chief Rowland's testimony came next. Under Isabel's questioning, he admitted to decades of protecting corrupt officers, tamper with evidence, and punishing whistleblowers. And who authorized these operations? Isabel asked. Rowland's voice cracked. Senator Langford. Everything went through him. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. Ava had transformed from a victim into a hero. Justice had been served. Donnie and Blake tried to say they were just following orders, but their own body cameras showed the truth. The jury saw the videos and were shocked. Donnie and Blake had aimed their dogs at Ava on purpose, even though she tried to tell them she was innocent. Look at your son, Isabel said, pointing to pictures of Lucas's injuries. Look at what you did to a little baby. Blake started crying hard. Donnie just stared straight ahead, looking defeated. The lawyers then played recordings of Senator Langford talking. He bragged about taking bribes, threatening Ava's family, and cheating the system for many years. The courtroom was silent. Isabel stood tall and said, "This is what corruption looks like. This is what happens when people think they are untouchable, when they hurt a federal agent, threaten a baby, and think there are no consequences." The verdicts came like thunder. First, Ethan was found guilty on all charges. He shook as the judge sentenced him to 25 years in prison. His badge was cut in half. Chief Rowland cried when his verdict was read. He got 20 years for corruption, cheating, and hurting people's civil rights. They took away his badge and medals, and he cried not because he felt sorry, but because he realized he had lost everything. Donnie and Blake each got 15 years in prison. Their fellow officers watched silently as they were taken away in chains. It was a warning to anyone who might misuse their power. Judge Rowland, who had already resigned in shame, was sentenced to 18 years. His judge's robes were replaced with prison clothes, and he wore handcuffs instead of a gavel. But the biggest shock was Senator Langford. Everyone watched live as he was charged with crimes like racketeering, cheating, trying to stop witnesses, and violating people's civil rights. His political empire fell apart. His friends left him, donors asked for their money back, and his own party told him to resign immediately. Through it all, Ava sat straight in the courtroom, watching justice happen. Each guilty verdict made her feel lighter. When the last sentence was said, the courtroom clapped loudly. Corruption had been punished. The untouchable people had been touched. Outside, thousands of people waited for the verdicts. The courthouse steps were full of supporters holding signs. Justice for Ava. No badge is above the law. Isabel came out first, raising her fist. The crowd cheered. Then Ava appeared, holding Lucas in her arms. His face had healed, and there was no sign of the terrible day he had gone through. Seeing Ava and Lucas safe and happy made the crowd excited. People started whispering her name, then chanting, "Ava, Ava, Ava." Ava stood at the top of the steps, holding her child, and felt hope. This wasn't just her Dominique. It belonged to everyone who had ever been hurt by people abusing power. Everyone who wanted justice now had hope. The cheering carried across the city. Corruption could be beaten and justice could win. 6 weeks later, the late summer breeze carried the smell of jasmine across Ava's front porch. Life had slowed down and felt peaceful. Ava sat in her favorite rocking chair, the one Marcus had gotten for her after they brought Lucas home from the hospital. The rocking motion calmed both her and Lucas, who cooed happily in her arms. His little fingers held her thumb. His face showed no sign of the awful day he had faced. "How's my little man doing?" Marcus asked from the grill, smelling the chicken he was cooking. He wore his world's best dad apron, a gift from the students. Steam rose from the vegetables he had put in a basket. Seeing this happy home made Ava's heart feel full. "He's perfect," Ava said, watching Lucas follow a butterfly with his eyes. Getting stronger every day. Ava's own arms still had pink scars from the dog attack. She traced them slowly. They hurt, but they no longer made her angry or scared. They were reminders of how strong a mother's love could be. The porch swing creaked as Marcus came and sat beside them, wiping his hands on a towel. Dinner's almost ready, he said, leaning over to kiss Lucas's forehead. And you got that look on your face. What are you thinking about? Ava smiled and pulled a letter from her pocket. I got a call from the FBI director today. She showed him the letter with the FBI seal. They wanted her to lead a new anti-corruption team. She would get to choose her team and report directly to the director. Marcus's face lit up. They'd be crazy not to put you in charge after everything you uncovered. When you start? In 2 weeks, Ava said, adjusting Lucas in her arms. I'll get my team ready. Nathan Cole wants to join. He wants to work for someone who actually does what's right. Thinking of Nathan reminded Ava of how brave he had been, warning her about Ethan even though it was dangerous for his career. It showed her that even in bad systems, there were good people. Marcus smiled. You're going to be the worst nightmare for corrupt officials. You brought down a senator, and now you'll have even more power to stop corruption. Ava watched Lucas snuggle into Marcus's chest. That's exactly what we need, she said. Someone who knows their tricks and has seen how they operate. She rolled her shoulders, feeling the scars on her arms. These scars taught me something important. No one is invincible. No matter how powerful they think they are, justice can still reach them. The sounds of children playing and a dog barking floated down the street. Once, those sounds would have made Ava nervous, but not anymore. She had taken back her peace. Marcus checked the grill again, talking to Lucas and making him giggle. Ava closed her eyes, letting the sounds of home wash over her. Their house felt different now. Not because of the new security system, but because they had faced the worst and came out stronger. The community had changed too. Neighbors who once just waved now stopped to talk, sharing their own stories. Reverend Malcolm turned his church into a civil rights center, using Ava's story to help people. Even Eric Hall, the student whose video helped show the truth, changed his major journalism to keep shining light in dark places. To Ava, Marcus said, pulling her from her thoughts. Dinner's ready. Want to eat out here? It's such a nice evening. Ava nodded, watching him bring out plates of grilled chicken and vegetables. Their porch had become their favorite place, a place to breathe, heal, and be together as a family. Lucas started to fall asleep in his carrier. Ava watched him, amazed at how strong he was. He would grow up knowing his mother's story and that standing up for justice was worth every scar and sacrifice. She picked Lucas up again, feeling his weight as an anchor, keeping her in the moment. The sun was setting, but they felt no fear. Ava gently touched his cheek and whispered, They try to break us, but we are unbreakable. Marcus squeezed her shoulder. Together, they watched the last sunlight paint their world gold. Their home was full of love and courage. Their future was bright, full of hope and justice yet to come. If this story moved you, please subscribe for more kind and powerful stories. Watch our next video for another unforgettable journey, and share this story with someone who needs it today.